back from executive session. We are now in public session. We'll start off with public comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak on World Home Day, which is this weekend, Friday night, starting from 5 to 10, and Saturday morning from 10 to 4. And I would greatly appreciate anybody, myself and the committee, anyone that would like to volunteer their time. It takes quite a bit of coordination on Saturday morning, getting everyone into the park. We're very pleased to tell everyone that we have over 90 vendors in the park, and we have a lot of food merchants this year. As I had spoken to it before, we are very pleased this year to be able to give the train ride and the bouncies free of charge for the children. And the fundraising has been incredible. Companies have really stepped up, and our committee is a small committee, but I think I've got to really thank Angela, who has put a tremendous amount of time. Thank you, Angela, very, very much. And our other committee members. So anyone, we're hearing that there may be some rain over the weekend, but we don't even care. Whatever happens with the weather, but we hope everyone comes out, and again, and we certainly appreciate the donations from the Civic Fund. The Selectboard were willing to give to our account, so that really, really helped us out with some of the things that we're going to have for the children and the people of Clinton over the weekend. So thank you very much. And everyone come out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for all the work that's gone into it and for spearheading it. If the weather cooperates. Very good. Any other public comments? Next item on the agenda, review of minutes for June 21st, 2023, June 28th, 2023, July 12th, 2023, and August 9th, 2023. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes for the dates that you just noted.
Second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Very good. Next item, Leadbella. Road closures for volunteers and Beer Fest and Halloween Walk. Good evening.
Downtown Development Coordinator. So I'm looking to seek approval for 2 different events for street closure. Going in chronological order, looking for Sunday, October 8th, for Volunteer and Beer Fest. We did it last year. It was a first-time event, and we had a very nice turnout. And we are looking to do it again. Just the reasoning behind picking that Sunday is that it coincides with Dam Day. So we are going to make efforts to draw down a bigger audience, to introduce people that may never have or wouldn't normally venture into downtown, to bring in a bigger crowd, to introduce them to the downtown. The part of the street that we would asking to close is the same as last time, which would be High between Church and Pierce, so that you'd still be able to go up and down Church, and you'd be able to come down Pierce and then turn down to High Street to go towards Water. So it really did not seem to interfere with the car traffic last year. The event time is going to be 12 to 4, so ideally we'd be able to close the street for 10 o'clock, giving the nonprofits time to set up their tents and get the inflatable company in here and get everything set up and ready to go. So that's number 1. Do you do it in pieces, or do you high sign both at the same time? How does that work?
Probably in pieces.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that sounds good. It's a pleasure of the board. Or
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the road closure for the Volunteer Beer Festival on High Street from Church Street to Pierce, pending the approval of the police department and fire department.
Second.
Any discussion?
Question?
Well, I should probably put a time, right? Yeah. So I'll amend it.
10 to 5, please.
10 to 5 is when the actual event is?
It's 12 to 4, so we'd have 2 hours on the front side to set up and an hour to tear it all down after.
So from the hours of 10 to 5.
All right.
I think it probably has to be seconded
And
again.
second
Yeah.
the amendment?
Second the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? There being none, all in favor? Aye. All right, now the,
One other thing to throw in, just to make sure it's copacetic, to follow suit of Old Home Day, to have lawn signs up on some edges of public roads and edges to promote it. And we also are planning a larger sign, like the mesh one we did before, up at the dam on the same point. Thanks, Brian.
all right, so this is road closure. All right, so is there a second on the road closure?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that's finished. The Halloween walk,
Yes, I've inherited Halloween walk. Thursday before Halloween, which makes it the 26th, 6 to 8 p.m., as it has been in the past. Have had thorough discussion with Chief Poyne that agreeing that due to the growth of the event and the size of the crowd, it's really important and necessary to close the entire length of High Street, from Water all the way up. Last year, it was not closed all the way to Water Street, and it was, I attended it with my daughter, and it was an issue down that end of the street. You had businesses who were doing a great job of handing out candy and trying to really bring up that end of the street and participate, and there were crowds of people down there, kids down there, and there were people zipping in and out of cars. So the chief and I have discussed it and are in complete agreement that it's a necessary safety move to close the full length.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Who used to run this event?
It was Discover Clinton that morphed into the chamber, and the chamber felt that it really didn't benefit their membership. And it's undertaking, so they asked if, there was an opportunity, and I said that I would step in and take care of it. It's an economic opportunity to bring in, again, people from a bigger circumference into downtown Clinton and show off how.
All businesses.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're trying to, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but my goal is to do this in a succinct way and a safe way, because you've had this event that's, I understand, it was smaller back in its origins, and it's really grown, and this needs to be handled like a large-scale event. But also to do it safely, not just for the attendees, but for the businesses as well. So taking slightly different approaches and a more proactive approach of giving guidance of how to do that that benefits everybody.
I think Parks and Rec used to manage it at one point as well, within the last
Yeah.
5 to 7 years.
So, and basically, I'm talking to everybody, and that's typically, I'm staying in touch with the chamber folks, getting input and learnings from their years past. I'm in constant communication with Parks and Rec about a lot of things, and obviously want their input. We are actively seeking out candy donations on a corporate level this year, so that it's not a financial burden in any way on the businesses in downtown, and pursuing that. But yeah, we're going to be looking to add some lighting, bump up the police presence, make sure the street's closed, and there's going to be signage, a lot of signage, just so we don't have any issues. And talking with the businesses in advance to let them know the street needs to be closed with a capital C, because that was an issue last year. So.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the road closure on, what's the date again?
The 26th, Thursday, October 26th.
Thursday, October 26th, from the hours of,
We're still discussing it with the chief, but let's call it 5:30 to 8. The event's 6 to 8, but
Yeah, just,
they need time to get the barricade set up and get everything in place, so.
yeah, so why don't we say 5 to...
Let's call it 5.
5 to 8:30.
Again, I'm late to the party of how early we can do this, but yes, 5 o'clock would be ideal, just to.
Okay, if it changes, just come before us. I'll say from the time of 5 to 8:30
Perfect.
on that date. On High Street from Union Street down to Water Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Will we be contacting the businesses again? Like, I think last year, didn't we reach out proactively just to give them kind of a heads up?
Yes, I'm going around talking to people in person and reaching out to say, this is our goal, is to, work with you. Would you like to participate? If so, we're gonna try to do everything we can to get you the candy, and keep the crowds in control. We're also proactively having conversations with folks as far as best practices about a crowd of that size not coming into private stores or private property, that we would be trying to keep everybody outside on the sidewalks and in the road. But again, working with the community, taking a very proactive approach.
Even though the street may be closed down, there's still accessibility to parking behind Oxford Court.
Exactly, and those are
Post
conversations
office,
we're gonna have with
yeah.
those, the restaurants and the businesses of, this is 2 hours out of the whole year, and exactly, parking on side streets, parking on the corner, parking at the post office, and having people walk up, because we recognize it's an inconvenience, but a bigger inconvenience is a car running into a crowd of people. That's kind of the reality of it, so.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Good luck, Blake. Good luck.
The next item on the agenda is going to be tabled, or postponed, I should say. We'll revisit that at our next meeting. Federal law enforcement fund transfer request.
Mr. Chair, the police chief had contacted me this afternoon, and he had another commitment come up just on Sunday that he wasn't aware of when he had asked to be on this agenda, but he did submit a letter which was in the packet, so he's just looking to transfer $7,500 from the law enforcement, federal law enforcement fund to the state law enforcement fund to be used for community some youth programs and community needs.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next item, American Rescue Plan Act recommendations. The first is facilities and primary quality projects. Come up.
Good evening. Ryan Cranmer, Facilities Director. Does everyone have a packet or
Yes.
it was good. Yes. All right, so I'm here to request the total amount is $71,500 for air quality improvements, projects, and equipment in a way. And I kind of broke it up into 3 different areas that we know are going to need some of these items with, flu season coming and potentially COVID, and we don't know if there's any restrictions, but we want to make sure we're maintaining the air quality in all the classrooms and throughout the town. So the first 2 projects are 2 mini splits that we're looking at. I did get 2 proposals for this, as I was trying to kind of organize what some of these funds could do for us and kind of alleviate our operating budget. And these were 2 projects and proposals that came to me. They're both at the high school on the 2nd floor. One was the special needs office, one was the resource officer's office. Right now, the unit that is kind of feeding cool air and heat is in the hallway, and it's vented into those 2 offices where there's no independent controls for those offices, so these mini splits. Depending on the students in there, sometimes I was told that it would be helpful if they could monitor their own individual rooms, whether it be a warmer temperature or kind of cooling them down. This would be a way to do that. And the total for those two proposals would be $32,000. I also looked at kind of what were some of the expenses when I first came on, that a lot was taken, was COVID relief fund money, but now it's kind of on our department, and that's changing filters and the air purifiers that were distributed to all the schools. We do that depending on the size of the room, maybe once every 6 months. So what I did is I put in for the air, it says air filters, but it's actually the air purifiers, $9,500, and that for roughly 270 units that were ordered. That's about 2 years of, for all 3 schools total, that we can kind of stockpile, and then we have them as they're needed, as those red lights come on those units, we can change them out. And then we looked at the univents and air handler units, kind of the rooftop units, and then the ceiling units, and then the univents, the floor units in the schools. Those filters, I believe on my estimates, it's about 1.5 years for the 13.5, and that will cover filters for all those particular events as well, and that's all 3 schools. The admin building's not included in that specific request, but that would be the elementary, high school, and middle school. And then the third item, the request is $16,500, and this is specifically for the middle school. There's roughly 27 maybe. I'm going to confirm that. Based on number on 30 classrooms on the first floor that do not have air conditioner or AC units in those rooms, and I know the staff was feeling it today, and they probably will tomorrow with the heat and humidity. So we're looking at mobile portable units for the remaining rooms. Right now, the second floor is completely covered. Each room has air conditioning unit. The library and then the main offices are all AC, but there are classrooms on the first floor that it's can get pretty hot and humid in those rooms. So we're looking to either, and I spoke with the superintendent, so we haven't narrowed down a plan, but my numbers are based on either, if we go with the dehumidifier, which we probably won't do. I don't know how that will alleviate the heat in the summer. Definitely bring the humidity down, but they're a little less expensive. So my range is $400 to $600 per room. And that would be to purchase individual mobile units that would then right out of the classroom windows, and you could at least get better airflow in the ones that don't have those systems now. And with that, that's where my total request for the 71.5 kind of came together. So all their improvements, and we're looking. I'm looking for. I do have a contractor looking at some other side projects that potentially would increase the air quality in these buildings. Also, those portable units, if there is, if we do have 3 or 4 years left at the middle school, depending on how the MSBA program goes, we'll be able to take those units and move them to other town buildings, senior center, library, depending on the need. So I think we can get a lot of use. It's not just 4 years, and if that building, is rebuilt and taken down, we can definitely, maintain those units and use them elsewhere.
Mr. Chair? Hey, Brian, just one question for you. So the first project and the third project seem to be like, I guess, capital improvements. I mean, they're new things, right? Like one is like making a split, adding.
So right now, the 2 rooms they're not individually controlled. So
Yeah.
you can't really, whatever the temperature is in the hallway, that's kind of what's flowing into those rooms.
Okay.
So we're looking to isolate those.
Okay.
So they can monitor their own room temperature in those specific rooms based on the students that use those rooms and the way that it's aligned, the resource officer is kind of in that lane too, so.
Okay.
If there was ever a need for another use for those roads, it wouldn't be that thing, so.
That's fine. And then the third one with the portable dehumidifiers and AC portable units, I get that. The only question I have is for the filters for the classrooms and office space. Isn't that currently covered in the budget? Because that's a regular maintenance, right? We swap those filters out, right?
Yeah, we did, but it was covered by Bergen for, I think, 2 years.
Okay.
So we just started as of like the end of last year, is where those funds were not, because I never heard of that part, and it was always run through the school.
Yeah.
I didn't account for it this year's budget.
Okay.
Because it was one of those things that we don't know who's owning it, right? And I'm just taking ownership because it is, you're right. It is something that our custodians will do themselves, and it's part of their, summer program, winter program, and all that, so.
Okay.
So this would just kind of be a buffer. We really need them.
So eventually they're going to be in the budget?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted, as long as, I don't mind, it seems like an appropriate use for the ARPA funds, but I just want to make sure that there's a plan to eventually put it in the
Yeah,
budget.
I was careful not to say, we have 5 years worth, and then we're going to put on.
Yeah, okay.
So this should be a year and a half. And then we can also use them at other buildings depending on what goes first, and it just gives us more flexibility and confidence to say the air quality is we're doing everything we can to keep it where it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, if you just have to come up to the table so we can.
Michael Lutz, the fire chief. So I'm just for clarification, right? I asked for our rooftop unit in the fire department, because we got one that's really extremely old. The other 2 are new. Russ Carlson took care of those. Now, is that in your operating budget?
But we're at a place, so I don't know if this is the time for it, but I spoke with the superintendent today, and this would be more for the school. So I can get, depending on the person, whether.
No, because when you took over that, I just was under the impression it was going to be under ARPA, and I didn't hear it. So I just want to verify where, if we do a rooftop unit, where it's going to come from. That's all my question is. That's it.
Yeah, so again, I reached out to a couple vendors, and what I can put together tonight was the proposals I got back. So there's other things out there potentially that I can come back and we can discuss, and if it's something we're for us.
Initially, when there was a request, Ms. Fairbairn made the request, there's other things, and so that was.
I have three or 4 other proposals that aren't part of this agenda, and I'm not prepared to speak to yet, because I've done it this afternoon, so.
Sure.
But so they might be around, but we can sort of discuss stuff.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any discussion? Thank you very much for putting this together.
Mr. Chair, can I just a question, Brian, some of the work that needs to be done around the town hall, could you at some future time come in to, like I know there's a big hole in the office right over here. Yeah, and paint's chipping all around the outside, and
Yeah, so we do have one article. I did speak to the painters that are doing the senior center to start getting, maybe they can look at it and give us an idea of what.
because one of the things that I was really concerned with is the panels from the roof. I know you can put some, get a drone and go up there and see exactly but that kind of scares me, because the day that it happened, I was like maybe an hour after, and I said, my God, if anybody ever came out, that was.
I did have a contractor inspect the roof after that. There wasn't anything major that had to be dropped off. He did order a few ceramic tiles that are up there.
The clay tiles.
The clay tiles. They haven't come in yet, so when he comes back, some of the ones that did fall, he wasn't concerned that there was a huge safety concern.
Oh, that's good news.
But there will be some work done on that was originally discussed last fiscal year, and it's been a little bit since he's kind of reached back to it. Reached back out and said the material was here, so But his initial report wasn't that it was unsafe and we were in danger of having a whole section slide down, so.
Good, that's good. Okay. But could you,
Yeah, absolutely. But-
thank you, I appreciate
We'll
that.
put a list together of potential projects for the town hall with that warrant article, and we can discuss those.
Terrific, thank you.
Very good. Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion or questions? There be none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Next up is Clinton Emergency Management Agency.
Michael Lutz, the co-director. Chief Coyne, obviously, Mike said couldn't make it tonight. I told him pretty much all we're going to go for. So basically, the first time I came in, we discussed the apparatus down there. So just recently, there's 4 units down there. One of them just had issues that, close to $800-900 to repair. I told him it's just not worth throwing that money into such an old vehicle. So that's sidelined. So what Chief Coyne and myself's plan is to keep the one truck down there that has a lift gate, where we can move the equipment, nobody can get hurt, they can do lift gate. Get one unit's already at the DPW, we're not gonna repair it, it's just not worth it. And then get rid of 2 other units, and then look to purchase a new pickup truck, red onion lights, and then we'll have 2 vehicles instead of 4. Just recently, as everybody knows, the vehicles weren't registered. Chief Coyne worked real hard to try to figure that out. I'm not even convinced that that's all sorted out. He could attest to that, but he's not here. Second on the list was all the pumps and the generators down there. You walk in the building, as we know, the building's old and run down. But the guys that have taken care of it down there, these generators are all nice and lined up and nice and neat. But the problem is the gasoline. It's got ethanol in it. So if these generators don't get run on a regular basis, they gel up, and then when they do need them, they don't run. So what our intent is to send them all out, service them, get all ethanol-free gas in every one of those pumps. So that no matter what happens, in 2 years you get down there, that pump will stack and it'll run. We have, with the last budget, bought some equipment that we needed in the last couple of times when we needed to pump some cellars. Next on the list was just radios. The radios down there, they have radios to communicate with us and stuff, but they've been maintained, never been maintenance. So we're looking just to go through, take them to Worcester Radio and set them up and go through and have some maintenance. Then at the DPW, he has a spot set up for us for an ethanol-free gas set up over there. So buying a 55-gallon drum of ethanol-free gas with the pump, the container and everything. He has a spot, we've gone over it with him, and so that we can turn around and just take a pump over there when it's done, fill it up with ethanol-free gas, and then he has all the contact people to purchase it and everything. So then we can just get rid of the ethanol completely and not have to worry about it. So those are really the big ones. Updating the new equipment, I can't really say a lot because Finance Committee gave Chief Coyne and I some more money to do that. So that's going to help us out there. When everybody knows the building issues that they are, what they are. Brian's been very kind and helped us out with water issues down there and taking care of things. So those 4 things are really the biggest issues that we're faced with right now is a vehicle, servicing the pumps and the generators, maintenance on the radios, and then ethanol-free gas setup.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Mike, let me just ask, has anybody in the proposals put anything in to put a functioning restroom in there?
No.
Why?
Mary Rose, I don't even know how you'd start down there. Everything is so bad. It really is. I
Could you
believe
manage even a sink and a toilet?
it would be a task.
Would it really?
Yeah, I mean, and being serious, I think it can be done, yes, it can be done, but, I mean, just in brief, and Sean, you can attest to this. When we took it over, I toured the building top to bottom, and I went into the basement, The water was running so bad down there. There were sections in the basement that the mold was 2 to 3 inches thick. I didn't really feel very good when I came up out of the basement. Then again, as I pointed to Brian was kind enough to get the plumbers in there and cut the lateral sections out with it. So basically what was happening is the roof drain was just basically going into the basement. The basement was just had running water. It was just, and then all the old wood, when they did the renovations, they just left it there. They just walked away from it. So that wood just grew mold. Mold is beyond anything. Now, when Brian and I took it over, obviously we have a relationship with Whitney's, so, we heated it much better. Not crazy, we didn't heat it crazy. We just set it to a point where on one end of the building where the electric heat was, we left the doors open. My firefighters gave me a hand because they're carpenters. And we took an insulation panel and we stuck it in the staircase so that the heat was just going out the building. We sealed up underneath the garage doors, trying to keep the drafts down, and we filled our oil tank a couple times. Yeah, but I was a little bit surprised once I got the electric heat adjusted. The electric bill didn't really go crazy. It went up a little, but not anything crazy. But when you walked in there, you weren't chattering your teeth. The guys could get in the truck and start the truck, and then when they came back, we could seal things back up a little bit. But it did make a big difference. But a bathroom windows, I definitely think we should have them there. But my question, really, truthfully, is how much money do we throw into that building?
Do they still have all those old cots from the 40s from the?
They have newer stuff down there. They have some old cots, but they have some newer cots too. And they're still clean out down there. There's still definitely things to be clean out down there. There's areas on that second floor that I'm not exactly a small man, but I wouldn't be walking around too much up there. I get a little nervous,
It's a pretty scary building.
Yeah, it is. But in their defense, and I've said this before, you walk into their area where their radios and their meeting room is, it's carpeted, it's clean, you can eat off the floor. You go to the other end of the building where their apparatus is lined up nice and neat. Every single pump is in order, nice and neat. They take a lot of pride. And the good thing is the fact that we have 3 of the members that are on that have been active for as long as I can remember are DPW employees. So it's great because if something happens, they can give us a hand, But we're very good about that.
Oh, I admire them.
Yeah.
They do a wonderful job.
They do.
I'm looking at it that, I can't understand why
I know.
over the years we haven't found them someplace
I
that
know.
was more adaptable to what they do.
Definitely.
That's all I'm saying.
And hopefully, as time goes on, if you take those 4 vehicles and shrink it to 2, that takes a whole day out of that building. That consolidates that building, And obviously, you don't need a second floor. That second floor is a pile of junk. Realistically, and I don't know what the answer to that is, but I 100% agree. At some point, hopefully, we'll see a new home because they have a good place to be. They do a lot of good things, especially when it comes to lighting up all the games. That down here on High Street, the things that they do, So that's basically where Chief Cronin and I are at right now.
For the radios that you were requesting, would those be compatible with the fire department right now?
Yeah.
And then if the police department decides to move forward, saying.
They're compatible, yeah. So the radios that they have are our old radios.
Okay.
So you just haven't been serviced, So you just got to go through service and update the programs, and then if something is found to be, hey, it's not, you can't do it with it, we can get another one, buy a new one, We don't need a new one. They got quite a few down there. We don't need that many, but service the ones that you got. And if you need to purchase 1 or 2 new ones, hey, great, purchase them. So basically, that's where I'm at. The numbers that I ended up getting when this all started was $65,000 for the pickup, but that's out of Government Municipal Group. Servicing the pumps, the number came from Schofield's in Leominster. We do all our business up there. The radio maintenance and the upgrades and the charging systems was $15,000.
What's the price tag on the second one?
$9,000 for the servicing of the pumps and generators. And then the radio maintenance and the upgrade and just kind of checking out the charging systems is up $15,000. That just provides you an option to buy a radio or 2. Just to give you an idea, the radios are absolutely insane in price. They're hard to comprehend. But the ethanol-free gas setup's only $2,000. It's not a lot of money. It's a containment burn, a 55-gallon drum of ethanol-free gas, and then and the pump itself. Boom. And like I said, Ben has been very kind to set it all up at the DPW, has a place for it if we get the funding for it. And that's basically really the biggest issues.
So those, I thought there were four.
Yeah, there's four. Radio maintenance, and then the ethanol-free gas stuff.
Okay.
There's $2,000.
Oh, so that's, so there was 5 things?
No, 4 things.
4 things.
Pick up, servicing the pumps and the generators,
Yep.
radio maintenance and all that, and then the ethanol-free gasoline setup.
So about 91,000. That's what-
Yeah.
Oh, the last one's 2.
Yeah.
Also, Mr. Chairman, per request.
Yeah, second.
Second, any discussion? Yeah, just a question, seeing as we're talking about the Board of Health vehicle next. Do we know, I know we're looking at a used vehicle for the Board of Health. I don't know how many used vehicles we have in our fleet, or which one would be used more, but I don't know if we wanted to, I just don't know how much driving each of these vehicles would be doing. So I don't know if that puzzle fits together. If Board of Health's driving it more, we're getting them a used one, maybe we could give Seaman a used one and get Board of Health a new one. I would discuss that. Well, so, I mean, with Seaman's vehicles right now, you have, there were 4. Yep.
Down to 3, and then, because it's just not financially worth it to put the money into that old unit, Brian and I discussed that. So then we're
The
gonna
Tahoe's
keep.
got, which, what are you keeping?
Yeah, I think the
Pickup
Tahoe's,
truck?
yeah. So the gate bike, that's when they're gonna keep the other 2, the small pickup, which is like the Dakota.
Yeah.
And the other van.
I think they were donated anyway.
Still, we just need one good dependable vehicle, and then the other vehicle, Ben and service for us and everything, got it all straightened out, lift gate. So these guys can slide the pumps on, lift them up, nobody can get hurt, you know, just a kind of a safety issue.
You know, I mean, to that point, if, you know, Board of Health had requested a 4-wheel drive with towing capacity. Yeah. If Seaman gets a 4-wheel drive vehicle with towing capacity, then that might be able to, kind of alter the vehicle the Board of Health needs. They needed a 4-wheel drive with towing capacity for their trailer. Yep. Right? So if SEMA has a vehicle with towing capacity, then they could use it to tow. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not an issue. And the good thing, like I said, is, you know, you got 3 DPW guys, I mean, obviously I can drive that stuff too, so if they need to move stuff, we're definitely willing to move stuff, not an issue.
Okay. Any further discussion?
We have to figure out, and this is kind of aside, I was just kind of surprised that we didn't hear anything in here about repairs to the building itself, because I know that it's
The situation is, what are we gonna do? How much money do we really put into a building?
I can understand that, and that's what I know, and it's, you know, shame on me for not following up. I know we've talked about it a couple different times, but I think we should, I know Brian's really busy, especially this time of year with school opening up and everything and building inspections, but I think, can we prioritize the facilities department to evaluate that building and just determine, is it even salvageable? Because and if it's not, can we just move on from it and find another location? Because every time, I'm hearing these like horror stories of the condition of that building. And I thankfully no, from the way that you are.
Give you a choice.
I know, I don't want to go in it from the way I'm hearing about it. That's our headquarters for our emergency supplies and department and stuff, like, wow. How many times are we going to keep listening to waterfalls in the basement and 2-inch moss and the building falling apart? But if the building if it's salvageable, let's figure out how much money it takes to get it into a usable condition. And if it's not, then let's start pursuing alternate locations and just move on from that place.
So Mr. Farragut had requested, he had a metal building approved at town meeting, right, on this last year warrant to be constructed up near the school grounds.
Okay.
So I think that number was 180,000, I think is what he had requested. So depending on how that goes, I mean, it's gonna cost you a lot more than $180,000 to make that building salvageable. So if he's able to complete that, then to your point, you could get a brand new metal building.
And this was that last year's, the last
This
town
past
meeting,
one,
this past one?
yeah, so
Okay.
that should be, yes.
Well, then, all right, then fine, this is a side subject, we can bring it up on another discussion, but if that is what Brian, if that's what Mr. Farrer is planning on doing, then that makes some sense, but I'd just like to, hear that is the game plan, that's all.
Sounds good. Any other? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Our next item, Board of Vehicle request. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Just introduce yourselves.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's John McNally, health agent.
Tom Bonsi, health agent. That would be, if the chief wants to tow the trailer, we get no problem, that's fine with us. I mean, we just know the DPW didn't have anything to tow it. So, that's fine. Yeah, that's regional.
See, the other aspect is recognition. We go to a lot of people's property, they show up, and sometimes the language is kind of rough. Who the are you?
Right.
You know, and that's why we're trying to get some shirts and maybe some ideas. And certainly for everybody's safety, they should know an official vehicle is pulling up to do work for the town. So that's where we really need something. Mostly Tommy's been using his truck. I use my car when we have to. But certainly I think it's advisable to have a recognizable vehicle for, because we have a lot of people that maybe not totally, they're new in town, they don't know what we do and what we're there for. So that's another aspect that's important.
I agree, absolutely agree with both of you.
Mr. Chairman, if the situation with the towing vehicle you can use, why wouldn't we want to just get them a little pickup truck or something that's, on a daily basis, that isn't a $60,000 vehicle, but it affords you the opportunity to identify yourselves and,
Yeah, we're just looking for something usable and feasible that's going to work because, we really think it's the right thing to do at this point.
Sure, so I collected the mileage reimbursement from the town accountant from back to July 2020. And all that was on record for reimbursements through that time it accumulated to 1,140 miles since. So
That's probably mine, because when I go out of town, that's when I'm going to a conference or
Yes.
I'm going to meetings in Gardner, Templeton, Worcester, and I usually only put them in every 4 or 5 months. I'll put them in.
So that, how much driving are you doing if are you not putting some of the reimbursement in for like?
Well, I never do, during the day, I don't. But we probably drive about 10, 12 miles a day, just checking up different areas and where we have to go.
Yeah.
And every time, when I have to go pick up supplies, I just make.
So when you're going further out, then you pay for the mileage, but around town, which I would think you want, you're using your vehicle, but the reimbursement is there for.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be paying out of your own pocket to do a job for the town.
I think another thing that's important is insurance coverage, because we're using private vehicles for government work. That could get a little convoluted, so that's another thing that puts us in a bind, so to speak,
So, and how many hours a day do you think you're using a vehicle on, how many hours do you think you use it a day roughly? Guesstimate.
But we're in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you add it up, it's really a couple of hours a day, because
Yeah.
we come in, we do our inspections, we come back, all the calls we get, we have to go respond.
We have to put out the documentation.
Fire department calls us, police department calls us. We were there today, we had to close the house down.
Yeah.
But we had to get there. They were stopping us on the way, they didn't know who we were.
Yeah. So just based on the usage, if the health board is using it 2 to 3 hours a day, and it had been brought up about having a vehicle for the town hall, I mean, could this be rolled into a town hall vehicle? I mean, you have it in the earlier part of the day, and then it would be available for, I know the veterans agent, council on aging had also mentioned, is that something that could be, like in the later part of the day, the vehicle would be available for other departments, or?
Yeah, well, I know the Council on Aging had asked for it to do medical appointments, so they probably would be using theirs all the time. So if the Board of Health's using it and then other people in this building, there'll probably only be small windows for the Council on Aging. But yeah, I don't know how often other people in the building would be really using.
But if Bernie needed it, you know, we got no problem. If anybody needed it, you know, we just go back to what we do, you know?
Well, I was just gonna say, that's kind of where, I'd like to kind of do our best to address any needs for a town vehicle, like now, like at once, as opposed to like just piecemeal of this year, this department's asking for a car, and then next year, maybe another department's gonna ask for a car. I'd rather take more of like a holistic approach to it and just say, all right, what do we need? How many town vehicles do we think we would need as our best guess? And which departments would be using it the most, and assuming that it would be more than one department. And then at the end of a year or two, if we keep accurate logs on like who's taking the vehicle for what uses, we're gonna know, it's gonna be obvious. If the Board of Health is using the town vehicle 95% of the time, then there's justification they should get their own vehicle. But if it's still more spread out, then maybe we should keep the model where we just have 1 or 2 town vehicles that are accessible from multiple different departments that just don't have a vehicle right now. That's just personally the approach that I would kind of try to take with it, because at least that way we're kind of addressing the needs of all the departments. I mean, we had that one meeting here where we kind of brought that up, you know, could there be other departments that would need access to a town vehicle? And Deb was in the back of the room, and she, for the Council on Aging, she raised her hand immediately. So there's, I mean, that was without really digging into it and asking the department heads what the needs are. So I just like to get a better understanding of what the needs are of some of the other, if there's other departments that might think that having access to a town vehicle would benefit their departments. I'd rather kind of like get this all handled at once, as opposed to like just addressing each board at a time, that's all.
Well, again, I'm thinking about, like even here, Brian has a vehicle, DPW superintendent has a vehicle, Jim has, the building inspector has a vehicle. I mean, I know Deb said that she has it, but I think Mike makes a good point. They have the van, she got a grant that secures a livery service if the van is taken and they don't have, that's not available. I mean, that kind of, if she needs it for medical appointments and you folks need it to run your department, then it kind of becomes who actually needs it more. Do you guys need it or does she need it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's going to fluctuate from day to day and week to
Right,
week.
that's my thing when you get into the sharing thing, that you potentially could have issues. I don't know, if they're spending millions of dollars, I mean, to me, it seems a $30,000 or $25,000 pickup truck. I mean, I'm not, if you're talking about, you're fine with the vehicle from the other department. I don't know, I think it's.
I mean, when you look at, you know, the fact that it's millions of dollars, I mean, how far can you get this to go where then it alleviates the burden on the taxpayer? So I don't disagree the Board of Health needs a vehicle. I'm looking at, can we use, is there an opportunity to solve the needs of multiple departments? Now, to the demand that was just brought up, you know, if it came out that the Board of Health is, you know, the vehicle is not available when they need it, then you have the data there that says, all right, they need a vehicle, right? So then go there, but I don't think justification because another department has a vehicle is enough for me. I think, you know, maybe I'm a little more frugal in that sense, but I think to meet the needs, and then, you know, the veterans agent had said that he needed a vehicle or access to a vehicle, and then Council on Aging, and then.
But we just gave approval for a $65,000 vehicle that's not going to be used all the time. Probably sitting down there most of the time, not even being used.
Which, and if you guys need access to that vehicle.
But that's a heavy duty vehicle, Ed, that's what I'm saying. That's a 65,000 heavy, I mean, it's not something that they economically even makes sense that you want them driving around.
No,
that vehicle.
I'm not saying that they drive that around, I'm saying if they have need for if they have need for the towing capacity of that vehicle.
Yeah, and that would probably be under emergency circumstances, I would assume.
Exactly, right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, either, you guys are getting a car, I mean, or a truck, or whatever we decide, it's just the question right now. We could even, and that could be easily addressed, we could agree on a priority list of like which departments, like if there was ever a conflict between Board of Health and another department for use of that vehicle on a certain day, we could agree ahead of time that the Board of Health would have priority. But I'd like to see what the needs are of other departments in Town Hall before we just assign one vehicle specifically to a department in Town Hall. It's a valid point with SEMA and what we just approved, but to me, I mean, that's an absolute emergency response, like equipment. So to me, that's a little bit higher of a priority, and we already in the discussion relayed the need to get like usage out of that vehicle from other departments if need be. Specifically, we mentioned the Board of Health because they do have some carts and trailers and things that need to be towed, and I think it just makes sense if we already have that vehicle for SEMA, that's something that the Board of Health could also use. And I don't think that there would ever be a situation where they would not have access to a car, but it's just my opinion. I think we're better served at taking this, looking at this from all town departments and having town vehicles that get signed out from different departments versus just moving forward, giving like each department their own car.
So if we looked at this as a trial run from, say, October to budget season, right? If there was a vehicle for the town hall, the Board of Health has access to it. Any other department that needs it can, as the priority mentioned, as you mentioned, priority. And then if it does not work, then there's a warrant article that next town meeting for the purchase of a new vehicle, or maybe the town doesn't use it that much, and then it becomes the Board of Health vehicle. I mean, you have a little trial period to try it out, but I mean, warrant articles for vehicles is not.
Just to add, I don't know if there's a vehicle here, if people's minds will change, but after the board discussion, the assistant town administrator did reach out to departments that currently have vehicles, and just ask to assess the need. And the ones that responded were the Board of Health need for inspections of their clinics, the COA for medical trips for medical appointments. So currently they have the senior vans, but then they have these one-offs where the van isn't going. If there's a medical appointment or treatments that a senior needs, a van's not going that day or they're not driving that day. So they had gotten a grant in order to start that service, and it became very popular. So they wanted to keep it going. So now they get donations, or they supplement with their state funding, or different ways to keep it going. So it's not being funded with well, I should double check that. They may be funding it with town dollars, but initially they were doing it with grants and donations. So what they do is they pay a taxi service in order to bring the person to their appointment if they don't have any other way to get there. So I think the director was indicating if they have their own vehicle, then when the van drivers could drive it, then they could do it when they need to instead of paying a private service to do that. So that was her thought on that. We'd have to delve into more how often, when it would be needed, how much it would conflict if there was one vehicle for Board of Health and COA. And other than those two departments, the only other one that expressed the need was the veteran service officer to go to meetings and do deliveries and put the flags and markers at cemeteries. So those were the only 3 departments that had expressed interest when we had kind of done an outreach earlier when the board talked about it. So with 1 vehicle, service all those 3. Yeah, I mean, we can give it a try and see see what works.
Just for the sake of discussion, I'm going to move that we approve a moderately priced vehicle for the Board of Health.
Second. Any discussion?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So because we're a green community, a vehicle such as this would have to be probably a hybrid or an electric vehicle. Only like emergency services are exempt from that. So just know that if that's where we're heading, it probably should be one of those vehicles.
Well, they're still
that's
inexpensive.
All right. So the question I have then was, what would be the rationale against having a vehicle for the town hall that the Board of Health would have access to, as well as the 2 departments that suggested they may have a need for it?
Are you asking me?
Yes, and
Oh, well, I think that they serve the town, and I think they deserve to have their own vehicle. And I just think that they're always on the move. They service and they get calls from all different departments. And I think the request is warranted, and that's why I made the motion.
so
Can we use what about the one we're nicking from the police department? Can we use that for
the
the town hall?
Ford pickup truck, which I think Chief Cohen's going to reach out to, the Ford pickup truck is down again.
Okay.
It's down again.
Well, not the car that we're thinking about using, another car down there using the one.
They have
Exactly.
the one that was going to retire was based upon the pickup truck being fully repaired, which they continued, they're not able to, Ford's not able to figure out, so that's.
I mean, I'll vote against this, but it's not because I don't want you guys to have a car. I just think that there's no reason why we can't try to have one car. We could have a priority list where you guys get first crack at it, but if it's not being used, to know that it's available to the Council on Aging, so if we can see how many times they use it. Every time they're able to use it, the town probably saves money because we don't have to hire a taxi. And then if the Veterans Department needs to use it, he's probably going to have the least amount of use out of the 3 groups. He can be like kind of the 3rd tier down. So you have 1 vehicle getting usage from 3 different groups, and then at the end of the year, we can take a look at who's using it for what purposes. I just think that that's a better economic approach to it than just giving one department their own car. I mean, maybe if there's an agreement, if we can come to an agreement just without vote that like you guys would still be willing to allow other departments to use it, I guess that's another way of getting there. But it's at the end of the day, if we vote yes for this, it's going to be their car. They can decide whatever they want. Whereas if we work something else out, we can get more usage out of one vehicle. That's just.
We're adding like administrative tasks to the additional, like they're gonna have to like coordinate amongst these groups as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's a somewhat irregular, is it a regular schedule? I mean, it feels irregular, like you could use it in the morning one day, the afternoon, like it's unpredictable, I guess is where I'm going with that. Is typically.
We use it every day.
Every day. Yeah.
And at different times, we never know when. We get overused and.
Right.
And the other inspections we do also, like all the food operations we do.
Like
at least twice a year.
Yeah, like you schedule.
And that includes the pharmacies and the clubs and the special event, that's gonna be something different. But we get mobile vendors, they're running around and sometimes we gotta go chasing them.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's everyday use and it's not always like predictable. And I imagine in terms of doctor's appointments, like that is also at the mercy of
like I
doctors
said-
typically.
yeah, excuse me, what I said, I'm concerned about recognition. Because a couple of times, like I said, it came people got in our face, and, you know, we calmed them down, but it's that initial, we pull up in this pickup truck, and we could be
No,
anywhere.
yeah, I agree with that, especially with all the people knocking on doors with solar, trying to get, you know, like, there's just a lot of people knocking on doors, I can
We
imagine.
have the red badges coming up.
Yeah, but still, if I'm looking out the window, like, I can't see out my front door. I can only see out the street, so.
I live down the street from you, I know.
Yeah, you can see, there's the windows.
Chairman, I would move for a vote, for,
I'm not finished discussing this, I don't know why you're trying to ram this through, I'm just,
I'm trying to ram it through.
I'm trying to say something, you were saying, let's move to a vote.
Well, I mean, I can ask for a vote.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we also open it up for discussion, so if my point's not valid, then, you know. But the department head suggested that, yes, they were more than willing to be open to sharing the vehicle. So it seemed like everything that was pointed to was like a shared resource. But because other departments have their own personal, they have their own vehicle, then they should be entitled to one too. And that rationale, I think, is faulty. So let's move through a vote, because that's what, you know, I mean, the data's there. That's what we got. I asked, it was 2 hours a day, approximately,
With the Board of Health,
Board of Health,
they use it every single day.
for a couple hours. That's what,
But it's
That's when we're in the vehicle,
yeah.
but we've used it to go out for like 20 minutes, come back, get another call, be out for an hour, come back.
Collectively, it was a couple hours. That's why I asked that question.
That's all.
But it's not from like 8 to 10, it's throughout the day.
The department closes down at 2.
3.
3?
3. Yeah, we usually get 3.
Yeah. So,
One of us or both of us.
all right, let's go to the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and it's not because I was opposed, because of getting the vehicle, but that's fine. All right, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Cybersecurity technology upgrades. So, there's going to be there's an assessment being done.
Right.
So once that comes back, then maybe that we can revisit.
Right, exactly. So currently, there's a company, we had gotten a state grant to come in. They're doing a total townwide assessment of all the buildings. The engineer has been out, gone through the buildings, met with department heads. They recently were able to pull down all the data on the town hall network from our network administrator. And they're going to come back with a report on saying, where our needs are for cybersecurity, what we need to upgrade, equipment that's old and outdated that needs to be enhanced, maybe recommendations on software. Also, I'd like to keep it fairly broad if there's ways that, we're currently, HR is looking at some payroll and time and attendance software. We're looking at the permitting software, that these are ways that we can cover ARPA through, kind of the virtual and remote type programs that could all be included as part of that. So we're looking at infrastructure upgrades, device upgrades. That, we have some Windows computers that aren't being supported right now, that they're past their time, and then software upgrades that can help operations as well too. Some departments like library, they're looking to beef up their Wi-Fi network. So this company is looking at all of that, and they'll come back with a comprehensive report and try to ask for support out of that block of money that's been kind of put aside for that.
Awesome. Is there a tentative date on when that report might be available? Roughly?
Yeah, I'm hoping probably in 6-week time frame or so. I know they've kind of got most of their data right now, so I don't want to say 2 to 4 weeks. It might be tight, but probably within a 6-week time frame. So
Very good. Any further discussion? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Next item, traffic committee report of recommendations. So the traffic committee had met last week to review a few concerns and recommendations. Let me just go through. The first one was just an update on the radar speed signs that have been installed around town. There was one sign that is on the north end corner of Allen Street and Main Street. That one's going to be relocated further back on Main Street towards like AutoZone area. That's where the police were receiving more, the majority of their calls on speeding vehicles. There's one sign that has not been installed yet, and Mr. McGowan had, originally they discussed Greeley Street, but Mr. McGowan and Chief Coyne had said maybe put the police trailer out and kind of test a few spots to see, you know, where there might be a better use. So outside of that, that's the update there. Any questions on that? Good. Oak Street stop sign. So as you're coming up Route 70 and you take a left over that ramp, which is considered Oak Street, there's that, I guess that sharp corner. So if you're traveling from Cameron Street to Route 70, you would travel over Oak Street, and then you have the ramp coming off. So the way that the vehicles are traveling, they're kind of using it as a shortcut between Cameron Street at the bottom of the hill to avoid that. And the way that the vehicles are traveling down Oak Street makes it very difficult. It's a blind corner for cars coming up the ramp. So the recommendation was to place a stop sign at the top of Oak Street, so they would stop, the vehicles coming up the ramp would then have the right of way or at least yield to the traffic coming the other direction, which should slow vehicles down and then hopefully create a safer intersection. I don't know if we want to go through all of them and then go back, or how we want to make that.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. All right, Oak Street parking. There was a complaint about a trailer and camper parked on Oak Street. This is Oak Street further down towards, runs parallel with Chase Street. So on that corner across from the Acre Club. The way that the trailer was parked, it was creating a hazard. Both Chief Coyne and I think Lieutenant Nelson, I believe, had gone up there, spoke to the person who the trailers belonged to. The trailer moved, a camper showed up. That camper has since moved, another trailer showed up. So the discussion was to mark a portion of that street, so that way vehicles are not to park there, especially with the trailers and campers. Next was Franklin Street and Main Street intersection with the impeded view. So if you're exiting Franklin onto Main Street, when you look up towards South Main, it's become a blind corner because of the vegetation and the fencing. And then also a concern that was raised was to the right, there is a fence on that corner lot that is out onto the sidewalk, right in front of the sidewalk that abuts there. So there was discussion about removing the obstructions, and that would have to go through, I believe it's going to have to go through Mr. Gibbons, right? There was a letter that was sent from Mr. Salmon to the resident, and then that was sent back, and Mr. Gibbons currently has that. I don't know if you want to provide an update or.
I have involved Mr. Salmon.
Perfect. Crosswalk and pedestrian visibility. So we had discussed the crosswalks being striped white, and then the stop lines are white, and
there's some areas where you'll see a pedestrian is kind of standing there waiting to be seen, so then they can cross safely, and vehicles keep on going. So one of the suggestions was to paint the crosswalks with white diagonal lines to try to increase the visibility, which will hopefully bring more attention to pedestrian waiting. And specifically, one of the examples was at the top of Chestnut Street, which is a challenging intersection to begin with. But it becomes quite dangerous for, if somebody is on the side of, by Apple Country, if they're looking across the street to go towards the Armory, the pedestrians won't know if the person is going to take a left or a right, and if they take a left, if they're going to stop. And so the hope is this will help increase the visibility of it, and then we can always entertain signage or additional efforts. I know that making the community walkable and safe has been something that's been a priority. And then lastly, handicapped parking request for Stone Street. There was a resident who requested a dedicated handicapped parking space in front of their house. The committee discussed there is currently no parking spaces on Stone Street, and past recommendations, requests received for similar requests received, the recommendations were to not support the request for the individual parking spaces because of what it could potentially lead into.
Unless you're down on Grove Street, you just put it up yourself. That's fine. Told them no. Still put it up. Makes me sad. So, accessibility and dedicated parking spaces, if the resident feels that it's something that's urgent, I guess they can circle back, but based upon those recommendations, the answer is no.
Do we accept the recommendations of the traffic committee?
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chair, while we're talking parking stuff, and I'll send something to the for consideration. I have mixed opinions, and I guess I just want to throw out to the board just to start thinking about it. I was at enjoying some quality time with my family at the brewery, and on town property across the street, one of the car carriers pulled up, and a guy took a car off the car carrier and just drove away to, I don't know, go sleep or something. And, I've noticed that there is, I don't know if it's the same car carrier there, but just one there quite a bit. I was just, and again, I was struck that I had mixed emotions about it because I was kind of upset that they were using town property for their own business, but then, I can't imagine it's easy to find a place to park a car carrier. I don't even know if the guy's from town. So, I'll submit it to the traffic committee, but just to get people thinking about it, because I was curious what people thought. But it's not an isolated incident, it seems. I've seen a truck there. I think that was over the weekend, and I saw one there Tuesday, I guess. I'll send you an email.
So the topic would be like parking on town property.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole meeting.
I was gonna say, because there's a lot over here that gets, I think, a lot of action.
You said a car carrier?
Like, yeah, it's like a tractor trailer, like with a bunch of cars on it. They take them to the dealer.
Oh.
He had his on the back and then plopped it off and then went home.
Oh, and then just left his trailer
Left the
there?
whole trailer there, yeah.
Oh.
With other cars on it?
Oh, yeah.
And that's not the first request we've received, or the first complaint we've received about somewhere around Acres High. There's vehicles up there.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We have commercial vehicles that are parking on Walnut Street in that lot.
Right.
It becomes abundantly obvious during snowstorms.
And like I said, I tried, I realize it's a small town and we want to be flexible as far as parking concerned, so I just, how flexible, I guess, is something the board should maybe think about. I don't know. We'll, for a future meeting.
We don't have a parking problem in Clinton.
We don't? We have a tractor trailer.
We have a traffic trailer, we have a parking problem, but anything else?
Town administrator report. So,
one of the things that Mr. Ward had discussed was including a section on the agenda where we're giving the opportunity to spotlight things throughout the year versus having to try to keep track of everything and then do a long review afterwards. So anything that Mr. Ward feels is appropriate for that time, then that's what we can use that spot for. But if there's any questions or if there's anything any requests you have, then we could also include that there, so then.
Sure, yeah, if anyone has issues that they want to highlight, what I'm going to probably look to use this for would be like maybe staffing updates or changes, grants that departments may have received that wouldn't normally, be in the packet, or that I'd be informing the board about, that maybe departments just get themselves, and I'd ask them to filter through me so the board can know about that. If there's ongoing projects, give an update on some ongoing projects. So there wouldn't be, we have a lot of other areas on the agenda for the board to take action, but there'd be really more informational or a way to communicate things that are happening. We focus so much on getting things done and moving on to the next thing that needs to be done, and not really letting the board or the public know what has been done. So really just kind of keeping a tally weekly, so that every meeting can kind of give the board a little update on a few things. It might be short, it might be a little bit longer at times, it might be nothing some meetings, but at least it gives that opportunity for me to bring things forward to the board, so.
I think it's great because there's questions that will be forwarded to me to be asked for an update on. So rather than updating one piece, and this would be an opportunity where I know,
Yeah, it was interesting how, I started thinking about how I would use it and kind of how we put it together. And last week we had a meeting with the MSBA, the building authority on the middle school project. And after our piece was done, and we just want to show up and exit the meeting when we got what we wanted, so we kind of stayed on for the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, the director of the MSBA, she gave an update to the board on just kind of organizational updates or agency type things that they were working on, or trainings or conferences that they had attended. So I said, oh, that's what we're talking about, so I got to see it in practice, right after I started thinking about it. So
that's excellent. One of the things that Select Member Kerrigan had asked about were the stationery with the Selectboard information, so I don't know if you want to provide that update.
Yep, we're going to update that stationery. What had happened is, we kind of were going through what we had, kind of filtering through what was left. We're pretty much down to the end now, so, that we're putting in order for that to kind of get that up to date. Then we created a internal one that if we just had an electronic letter to do or whatever, we've kind of created that, but then we would have some formal stationery if we're sending something out on paper as well too. So, so those are some of the, like I said, those are some of the things that can kind of bring up as we go through this practice and kind of feel it out and figure out how the board would like that, that information to flow, and for me to kind of put together things that I'd like to communicate with the board as well too. So,
very good. Thank you. Second time stationery has been brought up at a Select Board member. Second time. Very good. The town administrator evaluation in fiscal year 2024 goal setting. So all members of the Select Board have completed the town administrator's evaluation. The town administrator also completed a self-evaluation. We have worked with Ms. Purple on the path on how we should go, how do we go forward from here. In the past, we would go through and read the entire evaluation. It was a recommendation by the Human Resources manager, that we go away from that, and then the evaluation is public information, so if anybody wanted to dive into it, they're more than welcome to. But to highlight that the evaluation, everybody participated in the evaluation,
And I believe the results, HR communicated the results to all the board members, I believe, if that's.
very good. They were sent out to everybody via email about a month ago. It was a little while ago. And then we can now begin working on goal setting for the select board or for the town. And then working with the human resources manager to really now distinguish between what's a board goal, what's a town administrator goal, and some of the goals that we had were a little bit blended together, so that way it makes it more distinguishable between, action items and then general versus general direction for the town by the select board. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then,
I just have one question, Mr. Chair. So when do we start discussing any, well, I mean, I'm assuming, use the goals from last year as kind of like a baseline, right? And then somebody might have ideas for new goals, somebody might want to take other goals off, depending on how things worked out. Is that something that will be happening over the next couple of meetings?
yeah, so with the information that was sent out, that was included within, there was a section about 2024 feedback.
Yep.
So then there were some ideas in there.
Okay.
So we can now, we can put that on the agenda
Okay.
for the next meeting on discussing, what direction the board wants to go.
Perfect. Okay.
And then Ms. Purple will help us kind of get that pointed in the right direction, so that way the goals that the town administrator will have will be clear and concise.
And those discussions will be had at select board.
Select board meeting. Administrative business. One-day liquor license, volunteers and beers. The community and economic development office is requesting a one-day beer and wine license for the volunteer and beer fest to be held October 8th, 2023 on High Street. It's a pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. One-day beer and wine license, summer concert. Parks and Recreation Department is requesting a one-day beer and wine license for a rescheduled summer concert to be held on September 12th, 2023. It's a pleasure of the board.
Also moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Holiday Pomps concert. The Parks and Recreation Department is requesting use of the Clinton Town Hall Auditorium on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, to host the 26th Annual Holiday Pomps concert. It's a pleasure of the board.
Also moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One-day beer and wine license for Holiday Pops concert. The Holiday Pops concert committee is requesting a one-day beer and wine license in conjunction with their holiday concert event taking place on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, tentatively at the Clinton Town Hall, Fallon Auditorium. Yeah, we just did approve.
Yeah. Well, we approve the usage of the town.
Yes.
Town hall
yeah,
usage.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Pleasure of the board.
Go ahead.
So this is for a
This is the beer.
Beer and wine.
at that concert?
Correct.
Okay.
I move to approve the request for one-day beer and wine license for holiday concert on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, for the Holiday Pops concert.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then just, Mr. Chair, carrying forward from the agenda, which was left off on the inside part, but just the abatement request for DPW abatements for $16,505.59.
Pleasure of the board.
I move to approve the abatements request at the amount of $16,505.59.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Old and new business, the ALS implementation plan proposals. The subcommittee recently interviewed the 3 consulting firms for the, to prepare an implementation plan for the creation of a paramedic service at the Clinton Fire Department. The subcommittee had unanimously voted to recommend Matrix Consulting, and who performed the original feasibility study.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of the ALS do we have a name of this? Is that the subcommittee?
Matrix.
Sure, that we accept the recommendation of the ALS implementation plan subcommittee. Or did we have, who recommended? What's the name of that?
There was,
Subcommittee.
Sure.
Sorry.
I apologize. I move that we accept the recommendation of the Joint Finance Committee, Select Board, Fire Department interview team that to accept a proposal by Matrix Consulting for the ALS implementation plan.
Second.
any discussion?
Just one thing, so when we did this, we first originally agreed to this, we agreed to a 90-day window for this completion. So obviously, it's not gonna start until these guys kick it off. But one thing I would request, and I can, if the board, if they feel differently, please let me know, but I would like this company, anytime if there is a deliverable from the town, I would like to be made aware of the deliverable, just so what I don't want to happen is we're holding these guys to a 90-day window, and if somebody is not paying attention, or if a ball gets dropped, or if a deliverable gets held up for like 10 or 15 days unnecessarily, I really don't want it to negatively impact this company, because we are trying to stick to a 90-day deadline. So my ask, unless the board has a problem, is that this company that's doing the consultation, anytime there's a request for information or any kind of deliverable from whether it's the fire department, the finance committee, department in the town, just make the request known to the select board, so that way we can kind of keep an eye on it too. And if we, if like a week goes by and we don't hear anything on this, the chairman or one of us can kind of at least ask you guys, what's the status of it, what's the holdup, what can we do to help? I don't think anyone would have a problem with that, would you?
Mr. Chair, we asked the representative there, once the contract's signed, they provide us, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but the data collection list of what they're going to be looking for. So we'll have a list ahead of time, perfect the things they're asking for, and a schedule. He says the sweet spot seems to be about 2 weeks after the contract's signed, and yeah, they had a 13-week timetable, so that's about right.
Okay, thank you.
That was a question that was asked, and about what may delay the timeline, and one was a natural, an unforeseen natural disaster, and then secondly was any delay on with the consultant receiving the data they're requesting. So as long as we can control what we can. That should be on task. So that's motions on the table. All in favor? Aye. High Street sidewalk analysis update. So there was it was posted again. Firms requested the RFP, but none made a proposal. Mr. Ward and I had discussed, the company had reached out, that actually the engineering company and the company that was the clerk, and they initially showed some willingness to come down and take a look at the work to see what our concerns were. And I know Mr. Duffy was trying to schedule a walkthrough.
I'm not sure where that is.
Right, we're still waiting to hear. I know Mr. Duffy had reached out and to the project engineer that we had. He said he needed to run it through the company, and we're waiting to get back a response from them as to what involvement they would have, what they'd be willing to do. But we were kind of just asking if they'd be willing to come down and take a walk, look at kind of the conditions and give us some of their feedback on it, so at least we have something to start with. So we're trying to put that together in lieu of having any other companies that would do it for us. So, but we've done 2 rounds. Plus, I had some individual recommendations, and they didn't express interest either. So,
Could we do one more round?
sure. Yeah. It doesn't cost anything, you know.
Yeah, and
maybe at $30.
I mean, and I don't have a problem with if they want to meet with us to walk through the sidewalks, that's fine, but I would just highly recommend, if we can't find someone to do like the overall analysis, I really think it would behoove us to have some sort of a subject matter expert with us for that walkthrough, because just having the same, no offense to these guys, but having the same company that did the work walk with us and then explain what the issues are, I'm just afraid that they're gonna start talking in civil engineering gobbledygook that I have no idea like what they're talking about, and I'm gonna have no position to like push back on them, because that's not my world. And I'm just a little leery having the same company that did the work walk us through and then explain like what the issues were, or like I kind of have a feeling like they could talk their way out of it, just because if we don't have somebody representing us that's knowledgeable about that type of work to push back a little bit, I don't really see how much benefit there's going to be in that walkthrough. So I'm not opposed to the idea of walking through with that company, but I strongly would suggest that we get some sort of a subject matter expert on our side to just to keep everything, just so we can have some knowledgeable pushback if there is reason for one, because I'm not going to have that knowledge. I don't think anyone on this board is either. And I do think that there's issues with those sidewalks, so I'd just like to have kind of like an honest dialogue. And I think for that to happen, we have to have somebody on our side that is also knowledgeable about cement and sidewalks and things of that nature.
Sure, I'd be happy to do another round. If the central register doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
The legal notice is like $30 in the item, and to try to reach out to maybe more firms that might grab onto it.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
if I may. Michael, on Berlin Road and Oak Street, now I'm assuming they're a different construction company that did that work. Well, they have the same thing happening on those sidewalks, and very noticeably so. And I think I had mentioned it when I first got back on the board. And so my concern as well on that, I mean, I don't know if they were ever made accountable for those deficiencies, but I encourage a lot of the board members, if they haven't, to go up and look, and it is substantial as well in that area, so.
You know, I think with High Street, where you have one firm that was the engineer and the clerks, I think that, I think it would be in their best interest to kind of come out and do the walkthrough like they initially reached out. So hopefully they'll answer Phil's call, and then, we can look at other sidewalks too.
Well, I think we should follow up on it anyways, because, I mean,
Up
up on Berlin Road and a lot of Oak Street, if you look, it's pretty bad.
I'm fine with following up on any sidewalks that we don't think are in proper condition. The only thing I'd say to that is and this is kind of why I'm pushing with a little bit of sense of urgency for this, is because the longer there's a delay from the completion of the job
Correct.
to the complaint, the contractor can just say, hey, I think, someone mentioned at a meeting here, there's 2 types of cement, the type that's cracked or the type that's gonna crack or something, So the longer it goes on, the more they're gonna have the argument of like a wear and tear kind of argument. So I'm all for, if we wanna look at any sidewalks, I have all on board with that. I'm just stressing the importance of trying to act, within the next couple months, getting something done, documented as to the current state of these high street sidewalks, only because they're the most recent that have been done, and it has the highest likelihood of getting some action out of the contractor, that's all.
Yeah, we should, and we
But I think it kind of shows, that there is a consistency the way the cement was put down, whether it be the High Street job or the job up on Berlin Road and Oak Street.
Yeah.
It has to be a deficiency on how they're doing, how they're laying that cement.
I don't disagree. The only thing I just have to plead ignorance on some of the other sections, because I walked sidewalk all the way down and back and took pictures and documented everything, so I know the defects on High Street like very well. I'm not saying that I'm sure that there are defects on other sidewalks in other parts of town. I just haven't like walked them yet, so I'd be more than willing to walk them.
Just take the time and look. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has, but.
Yep. No, I have no problem doing that.
So if, maybe we could reach out to Mr. McGowan and see if anybody wanted to do a walkthrough then, or other sidewalks in town.
Take a walk up there as well, too. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, could we amend what we're looking for? So what we're asking for is specifically an analysis of this High Street sidewalks. Could we also leverage that for the other use that we just talked about today, whereas just to have somebody present for the walkthrough with the company? So like if they're not willing to do the complete analysis of the sidewalks, can we use that same request to hire someone to at least be a subject matter expert for us when we do the walkthrough with the contractor? Or would it have to be like a separate request and get approval and everything like that, which is fine if we have to?
Yeah, I think that I think if just a limited, one-day thing, that could just be something we could reach out to, that would be a small engagement, it wouldn't be this whole big project.
Right, so it would probably be like a smaller scope version of the original request, so I think we could still like kind of leverage that request, because I think there might be some, I've also heard that there's some reluctance for companies to get involved because they're looking down the road and they're seeing if this could be the beginning of like any sort of like legal action. Then now like their work is going to be under a microscope and they're going to have to like maybe potentially have to go to court and everything like that. So I know that's, or I'm assuming that might be part of the reluctance on some of these companies to sign on. But if that is their fear, perhaps they would be more willing to do like a lessened role. At least we can still get some benefit out of their expertise, but we're not asking them to really put a definitive report together. We're kind of just asking them to give us some honest pushback if they think it's warranted.
Yeah, and then by doing that, we could then expand to other areas.
Sure.
So we could look at the Berlin Street and High Street and other areas too.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We discussed the next item under executive session, so we can slide past that. Home rule petition legislation update. Town administrator will provide an update on the home rule petitions filed over the past several years. That was on the handout that was included.
Yeah, so I did provide the board with a handout so you can look over, as you would need to. But there was one home rule that was approved in January of this year for the acceptance of these little small portions of town streets. So the only one that's outstanding is the increase in the liquor licenses. It was being held up by committee last year. Towards the end of the session, the committee ended up releasing it, but it didn't have time to get through the legislature at that point. So it's been refiled. It's in the House Rules Committee right now. I think with the committee being on board with it now, it should be able to move through the legislative process much easier this year. So I haven't spoken to Representative Kilcoyne, which I can do after this meeting and find out what she feels the timeframe would be. But I know earlier this year when I had a conversation with her, she felt that it would be an easier path now because the committee did endorse it in the end. So there was some tweaks they had to make to it, but then by doing that, they were able to sign off and release it. So.
Mr. Chair, do we have any idea how tweaked it is? Or I think, I seem to recall what was holding it up is they wanted to know when we were going to execute these things, or should we
Right,
set it off
exactly.
forever?
They wanted to put a time frame on it, but then they also wanted to be a economic zone, kind of for an economic target, so it's not really the whole town. So what we submitted was where the Economic Development Office had put together that downtown economic zone, and we use that, so it encompasses pretty much of the greater downtown area, so pretty much where a business would want to locate would be, we felt in talking with Mr. Duffy that it would probably be within that zone anyway, so he felt comfortable with that. So by submitting that, by agreeing to, I think they wanted like a 3-year time frame, that if they're not issued within 3 years, they would go away, like the pumpkin in Cinderella. And we said, all right, at least it gives us some opportunity to market them and know that they're available. So we agreed to that. So those were the two major changes that they were looking for. And I think, like I said, I'll get an update for the next meeting, but I think it'll move much quicker. I think with a new legislature being seated this year, things are a little bit slower start to the year because it's a 2-year legislative session, but I think they're into it now. So I know there was a little bit of a delay in taking the oath of office early in January and stuff too. So now I think coming back from summer session, they'll be back into the regular year with committee hearings and legislation going through the process. So I'll get a better timeline from Representative Kilcoyne.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, select board holiday party.
Yeah, I was just curious, are we doing this year, or, but everything else seems to be trickling back, but I haven't heard anything about this.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to do the major event that was in the town hall. So obviously over COVID, everything got put on hold. It is an event that's supported by private donations. And during COVID, we didn't do any outreach. And now, kind of again, it was volunteers with private donations. And kind of COVID really kind of put a wrench in that, so it's really looking to get it back on track again. So if there's any, interest or help that we can get people that could, help get back involved and help do some fundraising, unless it's something, again, that the board would look to fund, maybe with Civic Fund, or to do something on that level. That was done in the past. But it is a lot, trying to do the outreach, trying to get the sponsorships and then put it together. So even last year, there was, it wasn't until September in the fall where the town hall opened up in order to do something, and there wasn't enough time to put it together then as well too. So I think with that break, it's going to take some effort to try to ramp it back up and get things back on to the way it was before. So
What about, is there a possibility of trying to do something this year in conjunction with the lighting of the tree in Central Park, where they could we pop, even if it's like a hot chocolate and sort of nothing elaborate, but enough where they could come in, I don't know, if Santa's around that day to.
Sure. Take a look at that.
So, nothing, and then if you
Make some inquiries about that. Yep. And then if that way, then it can kind of still have that bridge, and then maybe look to doing something bigger next year.
Do you have a ballpark of how much it costs?
I don't.
Yeah. when we started it, that was years and years and years ago, but recently, I'd say in the last 10 years, before the pandemic, it's substantial. It's several $1,000s.
Like 2 or 8?
I don't know, it was,
15?
well, the main person we had that was, really driving it with his donation
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
it was several thousand. And then the time that goes with it is tremendous. I mean, you can't put it together in 2 months. It takes a lot of work to get it together, so it takes time and it takes money. So you really have to, think about it, sit down and think about it. It's just like home day. I mean, it takes the whole year. You have to, when it's over, this coming weekend, we will start right away for next year. So it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money to do it the right way.
Sure.
And I'm talking about like we were giving gifts out every single year, whether, it would be like T-shirts, Christmas T-shirts. One year it was mittens and caps for the kids. It takes a lot.
Oh, sure.
There's a lot that goes with it. Plus you have the cost of the uniforms, or costumes rather, all the Christmas characters, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time and energy and a lot of work.
I mean, I feel optimistic that something could be brought together.
Well, you should do it, man. It'd be great for you.
I am on board.
It'd be a great project. I mean,
For less than several $1,000s too. But I think, what I'm looking at is, because right now, when people show up to the park, there's some Christmas caroling going on by some of the students, I believe, right? And then they light the tree, and then from there, it kind of disperses, right? So thinking like, could you have, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know about the present aspect of it yet, but like maybe that could be long-term, but just something to kind of invite either before or after, go outside with hot chocolate and,
I thought I had written down, Michael, when's that tree lighting? Is that the 25th?
Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's usually the Saturday.
Yeah.
The holiday season is very saturated with events, and families are often conflicted with multiple events on multiple days, so I think even pausing it and maybe just reconsidering it. And now that we have like the downtown development coordinator, there's like more events, and now Halloween is kind of becoming our thing. Yeah, so it's like, I just want to be, to Mary's point, I know these events are like very labor intensive in terms of staff or volunteers committing to doing it. I mean, I love the idea. I would say, can we throw some money into a better sound system for the lighting?
Sound system.
Make that kind of, I mean, it's an enjoyable thing. I think you see people kind of getting excited about that. The tree looks amazing. I do like the hot chocolate. It does get kind of cold, so I see where Matt's saying, like, it does seem like would be nice, like, to have maybe something in conjunction. The Santa Claus coming in on a fire truck is pretty cool. But it was having trouble hearing what was happening there, so like maybe just even tweaking some of that stuff. And
the event's already happening, right? So it's not like you're creating a new event, you're just adding a little pit stop to it. And
maybe it is.
Is there any easy value we can add to that?
Yeah.
I have indications that we're going to do what we used to do.
Yeah.
And nor am I trying to set that standard, right? But as far as like, I mean,
Well, let's brainstorm.
Yeah, I know, maybe it's just like
If we
a
got any
couple-
ideas, put our Santa hats on. Think
Well,
of
you
Santa
want
hats.
to be part of this, Chris Kringle? No. Soccer's over by
I
now.
brought it up. Yeah, I did. I was asking, and I wrote, all right, no football party this year.
I'll say that if I have
One
to.
more thing under old new business, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I forgot to mention it when we was here talking about the volunteer and beer date. Does anyone, I've talked about it for a little bit, and I talked about it when we were doing this event last year, we just wasn't able to pull it together. Would anyone have objection if I worked with Mike's office on getting a table at the volunteer and beer that would be specific to describing the different boards, volunteer boards that are still available, that have openings? We can figure out what kind of material we want to have there. I'll probably have like a little computer with, if I can get like internet down there to like look up different, or maybe have like a PowerPoint put together. But basically just the presence at the volunteer beer that we'll have, just explain the different groups, which boards have openings, and just to see if we can get some applications for some of the boards that still have positions that aren't filled yet.
Are you talking about for Old Home Day?
No, I was talking about for the volunteer and beer event on
Oh, okay.
whatever.
Because I was going to say, we don't have any name for it.
Yeah, right.
We can put you down on High Street. We don't have any room up here.
Yeah, I will say that Angela had a great table at the National Night Out
Yeah.
dedicated to that, so you could probably riff off of that and expand it even more, so, thanks.
Who won the gift card?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody that never called me to get their gift card, so I gotta pick another name.
Statute of limitation.
I know.
Do you want to use the power of the press and the
Yeah.
item to get this out?
We did increase all of our listservs after that.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And that was, there was one, and this is a quick tangent. Some people were wondering how to get on that list and why some people get calls that didn't register. So, in speaking with Mr. Ward, anybody who has a public landline is automatically enrolled to it. And then anybody who has a cell phone has to enroll in it. So that's why some people were asking, well, why did I get the call? And I've registered. Well, it was their landline. So.
Mystery solved.
Thank you for setting up that table at the last one. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned that first.
Committee reports. All right. Community announcements. News from the library. The Bigelow Free Public Library has new expanded hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesdays and Saturdays. The library is now open Tuesday 9 to 8 p.m., Wednesday 9 to 8 p.m., Thursday 9 to 8 p.m., Friday 9 to 6 p.m., and Saturday 9 to 5 p.m. So those are the new hours for the Bigelow Free Public Library. Attention artists, the deadline for the utility box mural program has been extended until September 18th. Details are now available on the Community and Economic Development page of the town website, www.clintonma.gov. And lastly, Clinton's Old Home Days event is this weekend at Central Park. On Friday, September 8th, the event will be from 5 to 10 p.m. and features food, music, bed races, an outdoor movie, and a fire show. On Saturday, September 9th, the event is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with 90 booths in the park, food booths, inflatable amusements, entertainment, and music. And that is it. So our next meeting is Wednesday, September 20th. Outside that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much and have a good night.